is on it.
Local media in Berlin are reporting the police on the ground there are saying this does seem to point to some kind of attack.
With another terror attack in Germany, will that country tell the truth about who is behind it? If they do, the Merkel government may fall. Also ahead, reports are Andrea Bocelli is too afraid of reprisals to sing at the Trump inauguration. We'll take a hard look at that situation. Caution. You are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Abolishing the Electoral College. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. After Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, the left in America is demanding that the Electoral College system put into place in 1787 be scrapped. But there's a hidden reason for this. As we reported, even though Secretary Clinton won the popular vote by 2.8 million, the progressive state of California provided all of that margin. Clinton defeating Trump there by about 4.3 million votes. So if the Electoral College were abolished, presidential candidates could simply campaign in the nation's largest states and cities, New York, L.A., Chicago, Houston, and rack up enough votes to pretty much win any election. That's what the left wants. That's what they want. Because in the large urban areas and blue states like New York and California, minorities are substantial. Look at the landscape. Philadelphia, Dallas-Fort Worth, Miami. In all of these places, the minority vote usually goes heavily to the Democrats. Head to that New York City, L.A., and Chicago, San Francisco. Don't really have a national election anymore, do you? You have targeted populations. Newspapers like the New York Times and the L.A. Times have editorialized to get rid of the Electoral College. They well know that neutralizing the largely white rural areas in the Midwest and South will assure liberal politicians get power and keep it. Talking Points believes this is all about race. The left sees white privilege in America as an oppressive force that must be done away with. Therefore, white working-class voters must be marginalized. And what better way to do that than center the voting power in the cities? Very few commentators will tell you that the heart of liberalism in America today is based on race. It permeates almost every issue. That white men have set up a system of oppression. That system must be destroyed. Bernie Sanders peddled that. To some extent, Hillary Clinton did. And the liberal media tries to sell that all day long. So-called white privilege, bad. Diversity, good. If you look at the voting patterns, it's clear that the Democrats are heavily reliant on the minority vote, also on the woman vote. White men have largely abandoned the Democrats. And the left believes this is because of racism, that they want to punish minorities, keep them down. So that's what's really going on when you hear about the Electoral College and how unfair it allegedly is. Summing up, left wants power taken away from the white establishment. They want a profound change in the way America is run. Taking voting power away from the white precincts is the quickest way to do that. That's a memo. Now for the top story reaction with us here in New York City, Lisa Booth and Juan Williams. All about race, Juan, correct?
Well, I think there's a racial overlay to it, but I don't think everybody who's challenging the Electoral College is doing so specifically because of race. I think you might also look at the urban-rural divide in our country, and believe me, there are a lot of minorities. Like you go to rural Alabama, there are a lot of black people, but there is, what you said is absolutely true, that if you look at the divide, the big cities tend to go more for the Democrats and the rural areas more for the Republicans.
If you abolish the Electoral College, Lisa, then you have campaigning in the large urban centers. I don't think people understand this. New York City, where we are right now, 16 million people in this metropolitan area. Half are minorities. Half. All right? 16 million. Add that to Chicago and L.A. You don't really have to do much else if you can sweep in and carry that crew.
Well, and I think as you pointed out in the Talking Points memo, what this is for the left, it's all about power, because they're looking at 2000, they're looking at this election and saying, look, Al Gore would be the president if it was based on the popular vote, and Hillary Clinton would as well. So it's about power, period. And I also think it really speaks to the arrogance of the left as well as the media, because essentially what they're saying is that a system that has served this country well for over 2 centuries is faulty because their candidate didn't
But they don't see
win.
it. They don't think it served the country well. All right? That's the crux of the matter, Juan. The liberal point of view is that the country isn't worthy, and it never has been worthy. We're going to do an MTV thing with Gutfeld McGurk at the end of the program, and it's based upon white people are bad. Because white people are bad, and they've always been bad.
Oh, come on.
Because they've shut out the minorities, and they enslave the minorities, and they don't want to let everybody in, and they don't want to give people of color equal chance at the American dream. The white people are bad. And this is, all right, now center force in the liberal precincts.
Because I'm so interested in what you're saying, because I don't see this, but I always listen to you with such, I really respect
Absolutely
you.
true.
But I don't, but you see this as purely racial. See, I think, let me
Not
just give you.
purely, that's, as I said, that's the dominant part of it.
Yeah, okay, that's what you're saying. But let me just tell you, lots of people think it's one person, one vote. And no matter where you live in America, your vote should have equal value. If you're living out in the sticks, it shouldn't be, as is the case now, that in some states, your vote's worth 3.2 votes to a vote in California.
It's not that, it really isn't that way, though. If you look at how the Founding Fathers put together the Electoral College, they didn't want the power centered in a few places. It's not about an individual vote. It's about spreading out, all right?
Well, you know, the
Exactly.
original intent was, in fact, 2/3 human for black people, and so the South.
But look,
so
but
the
this-
South.
No, this is important.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Well, thank you.
No, but you're making my point.
Do you think it's about race?
Yeah, right.
No,
You're
no,
going
but
right back to
it. It was
it.
about race with the Founding Fathers and the South as a slaveholding
But
group.
the left
But now-
never
but-
gets over that.
Oh,
Never.
Bill, we
But I
are
think-
way
Go ahead,
past
Lisa.
that.
Well,
Go
no,
ahead.
but I think the left as well. I mean, essentially what they're saying by this as well is the New York Times, the editorial piece, what they're trying to do is take the voice away from rural America.
Sure,
Take the-
white rural America.
Or just, but you know what, but perhaps Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, should have paid a little bit closer attention to the Electoral College, because the reason she lost was she didn't even step foot in states
No,
like
that's not the
Wisconsin.
reason she lost.
didn't-
She was a bad
She was a bad candidate, but she also
That's why she
ignored these people that she is slighting, and the Democratic Party is slighting, in their movement to abolish the Electoral College, because they would remove the voice of middle America, of rural America.
I don't think that's true.
What do you think, Juan,
Yeah.
of this white privilege movement, okay, that has arisen in the last 2 or 3 years to a crescendo? So white privilege. If you're white, you're privileged. And that's got to be done away with. And, I mean, I've been doing this 20 years. That's only 3 or 4 years old. But now that is really a part of the left's curriculum.
You know, this is bogus to me. I don't buy.
You don't think that's a part of the left?
No. I think it is part, but I think it's bogus to say we're in a society that's all about white privilege. But I do think
Make
this.
yourself clear, though.
No, I'm very clear.
Because that is really what's driving these debates.
But I think, in the aftermath, by the way, one of the big arguments is about identity politics and saying, the left has got to get away from identity politics. But you know the counter argument, Bill? Whites have persisted in identity politics going back to the days of slavery, Reconstruction, and into the 20th century, into this moment, the 21st.
But the pandering of Hillary Clinton, and because she did do that, she pandered to Black Lives Matter.
Oh,
she pandered
no.
Yes, she did. She absolutely did.
Yeah, she pandered.
absolutely
By
did.
saying that
But
you have a legitimate
But
argument?
ultimately, it did not serve her well, because she did not connect with minority voters the same way that President Obama did.
Well, that's a hell of a comparison. Obama, the first black president.
She was
Her
unable
strategy-
to reach them. Donald Trump did better with African Americans than Mitt Romney did better with
didn't work.
Hispanics as well. Yes, because Hillary
It
Clinton
didn't work.
was a horrible candidate, devoid of
Right.
a message that resonated
And
with
she
the majority
wasn't.
of Americans,
she
even
was-
minority
she was
with
just
all
a robot.
Americans.
But when I say she pandered to Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
all you have to do is, when we have to leave now, is to Google Hillary Clinton and police statements and what she said about the cops, and that was all off the Black Lives Matter stuff. It was bad.
Sensitivity doesn't matter?
Cops and Hillary Clinton.
I'll check it out.
Take a
We'll
look.
continue.
Take a look.
All right.
All right, Lisa Wan. Next on the rundown, the Merkel responsibility for the terror attack yesterday in Berlin killed 12 people, wounded 48 others. So far, there's no suspect in custody. Polish man was found dead in the truck that killed the dozen people, but police say he was murdered before the truck was turned into a terror weapon by a lone man. Problem with the information flow is that the Merkel government's in deep trouble, and facts may be suppressed. We'll take you back to last year's New Year's Eve in Cologne, Germany, when there was a mass sex attack on hundreds of innocent women. instigated by Middle Eastern immigrants. German authorities did not want to pinpoint that crime for political reasons. Eventually, the facts did emerge, but it took a long time. Joining us from Washington, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Rob Peters. So,
hi, Bill.
You pay close attention. You speak German, pay attention to what's going on over there. And number one, you know, I don't have any faith in the German media to tell us what really happened there, even if they know.
No, they will. It's changed. They did try to suppress the truth about a number of immigrant crimes for a long time, but the Cologne rapes and attacks exploded that. And now, while they still lean politically correct, they know that in the internet age, you just can't get away with suppressing the truth. So I'm seeing a much more open German press than I did before.
Now, the Merkel government, obviously under heavy pressure because Prime Minister Merkel wanted the 800,000 initial refugees to come to Germany, some say for labor reasons, and has been probably the most liberal politician on the continent in accepting Middle East folks. And now the German people are paying somewhat of a price for that, are they not?
They are indeed. But Angela Merkel remains the most popular and trusted politician in Germany because there just aren't really alternatives. Her political party, the CDU, sort of the equivalent of the Republicans, is much more likely to take a hammering at the polls than she is personally. But, Bill, you know, we talk a lot about Angela Merkel. People don't understand who she is. She's the daughter of a Lutheran pastor from the old East Germany, where being a devout Christian really cost you. And so she takes very seriously Christ's admonition to help the distressed. Now, the problem is that in this case, the distressed are barbarians who wanted to destroy our civilization. But you got to understand who she is to understand why she did this.
Let me challenge you on that, okay?
Sure.
If Mrs. Merkel were so interested in helping the distressed, why doesn't she help the USA in Afghanistan or in Iraq or in Syria? The Germans are loath to do anything, okay? Loath. They won't help, all right? And they have the most powerful country on the continent. So I'm not sure I'm buying that, you know, she's so concerned about suffering people. I haven't seen it.
Well, I think she is. But you know, the Germans, look, we fought the Germans twice. I'm not too worried about pacifist Germans, to tell you the truth. And they have helped us in various endeavors like Afghanistan. They just don't pull triggers. Look,
they don't pull triggers, right.
They don't pull triggers.
Not even to save lives, not even to protect women and children.
That's true, but
so, come on.
Bill, I'm just trying to explain to you who she is. I mean, you see the pastor's daughter and her fiscal tightness with Greece. I mean, I'm just trying to help people understand why she did what she did. But it was a mistake, and she knows it now. I'm going to tell
you flat out, I think she's a terrible leader. I think she's destroyed her own country. I don't think she's a friend to the USA in any way, shape, or form. And I hope she loses and is never heard from again.
You and I agree that she's been a poor leader for Germany at this time. She's made terrible mistakes. She's not an enemy of the U.S.
Well, I don't think she's an active enemy, but she's not if that's the friend, I don't want that friend. Now, ISIS obviously, okay, and a respectful gentleman disagreement. Obviously, ISIS, France and Germany, top two targets, because they know they can destabilize those countries. I mean, this guy who drove that truck into those poor people at the Christmas market, I mean, this guy was a vicious animal. And the same thing happened in Nice, France last summer. So they know. Now the world is watching this kind of stuff, and it heightens ISIS's power, does it not?
Well, of course it does. And for the Germans, this attack in Berlin was a terrible psychological blow. And we're losing sight of the fact. We're becoming so numb. This was an attack on Christmas. And by the way, it wasn't an attack on a barracks or a police station. It was an attack on a Christmas market where families with children go. It was as cold-blooded and monstrous as you could possibly be. And again, we're dealing with barbarians who want to destroy Western and Judeo-Christian civilization. And so all I'm trying to do is help you understand why Merkel has done what she did. But I have no mercy on these guys. Terrorists, kill them. I would torture them to death slowly.
Merkel wouldn't. But Merkel wouldn't.
No, she would not. No, she would not.
So, you know, I'm not saying that I feel terrible for the German people and all the innocent people who are dead and hurt from this terror attack. But they got to know, and you got to tell them because you speak German, that their chancellor isn't doing anything. Not a damn thing. Last word.
Well, the German Constitution that we basically put on them is very strict. It really keeps the police out of private affairs, and now they're finding that it may have been too strict about some matters. The Europeans are coming around at different speeds. They do realize that Islamist extremism is a fundamental threat to our civilization, but we have to lead. We have to lead. That's the real problem.
That is the real problem, though. So we're not leading. We'll see what President-elect Trump does. Colonel, thank you. Directly ahead. Michelle Obama says there were problems when her husband first took office. Is that true? Carl Rove will be here to analyze. Then reports are there are major problems getting entertainment for the Trump inauguration. Is that true? We hope you stay tuned for those reports. Personal Story segment tonight, transitioning from President Obama to President-elect Trump. In an interview that aired yesterday, Michelle Obama said this about her husband taking office in 2008.
There were people in Congress, there were leaders in Congress who did not support his presidency, which was not something that was good for the country. It was good for politics, but it wasn't good for the country. And that wasn't the right way to approach it.
And joining us now from Austin, Texas, Carl Rove. So I thought it was a fairly smooth transition back in 2008. Did I miss something, Mr. Rove?
Well, you left out the worst part of her quote. In the sentence before that, she said, you know, nobody helped us when we came in. And basically goes on then to say people were opposed to us. I'd like to quote to her the words of President Barack Obama upon being sworn in. Throughout the current transition, President Bush and his administration have extended the hand of cooperation and provided invaluable assistance. The day after Donald Trump was elected, President Obama went out and said, President Bush's team could not have been more professional or more gracious in making sure we had a smooth transition so we could hit the ground running. I've instructed my team to follow the example that President Bush's team set years ago.
Yeah, I remember all that, and so that was surprised at Mrs. Obama. And then I looked at the polls. 70% of Americans supported Barack Obama when he took the oath of office and were rooting for him to do well. I didn't see any overt partisanship on the Republican side. I didn't see any bitterness about John McCain or calling for the Electoral College to be abolished or blaming the Taiwanese on subverting the election. I didn't see any of that. So I don't know what she's basing it on.
Well, and neither do I, because remember, she came in, her husband came in with 60 Democrats in the Senate to 40 Republicans, 255 Democrats in the House to 178. The problem with that, he had too many. So he didn't think he needed to talk to the Republicans. You may remember in February of 2009, the Republican House members come down to offer their suggestions to him about the stimulus bill. And this is the famous meeting in the cabinet room where Eric Cantor begins to lay out the Republican ideas, and Obama cuts him off by saying, quote, I won, end quote. I happened to have dinner later that year with one of his top White House advisors, small dinner, 4 of us. And he said, you know, I've always been surprised we didn't get more support from the Republicans on the stimulus bill. I said, well, let me ask you something. Did you ever go up there and solicit their ideas and listen to them about what they would recommend? Oh, no, we didn't do that. I said, did you ever read about what they put out in the newspapers and publicly about what they would recommend? Did you ever think about swapping some of your elements out for what they were suggesting? Oh, so no, we had the exact right plan. I said, were you in the room when Obama says to Eric Cantor, I won, and cuts him off? He said, yeah. I said, did you see anything wrong with it? He said, no, we won. I said, well, then why should you be upset about not getting more support if you say to people, your furniture, you have no right to be involved? And it wasn't just the House, and it wasn't just once, it was constantly. You may remember that in 2009, the Senate Republicans and the Senate Democrats on the Senate Finance Committee began to hold sessions to discuss what they could contribute to health care reform and the Affordable Care Act. And the White House let it be known that neither they nor the Senate Democratic leadership would be bound by any agreement reached by the committee members of the committee through which the bill had to go. So look, you know, right from the beginning, President Obama said, you know what, I know there's a loyal opposition, but I'm going to treat it like it's furniture. Think about what would have happened if George Bush had done that in 2001. We wouldn't have gotten the tax cut passed through a Democratic Senate with a quarter of the Democrats voting for the Bush tax cut because we sat down and negotiated with them and came to an agreement.
All right. So Mrs. Obama, to put it politely, is practicing revisionistic history. although, as you pointed out, there was some opposition, but it was policy-based opposition. It wasn't because the president was a black man or that he was a liberal Democrat. It was basically the Republicans wanted to be heard, and you say they weren't heard, and that's pretty much the consensus.
And not only that, but look, the Bush administration bent over backwards starting in June of 2008 to work with both the Republican and Democratic presidential candidates to make them ready. We asked for we got the FBI to agree to accept people from both presidential campaigns who could be cleared, given their security clearances at the time of the election. We set up a software system to help them manage the hundreds of thousands of resumes that they would get. As soon as Obama was elected and began to name his people, their opposite number in the Bush administration called, particularly important in the national security and homeland security area. In fact, in January, early January of 2009, White House Chief of Staff Josh Bolten from Bush administration suggested to his Democratic counterparts that they have an exercise, a tabletop exercise was called, about the potential of a terrorist attack on the day of the inauguration. And so they got them together. They went through this exercise to help them understand what the available mechanisms and responses would be. And as luck would have it, or as luck would not have it, there was a serious, credible threat about an attack on the mall on Inauguration Day. And literally, there's the chief of staff under George W. Bush and the incoming chief of staff, while Bush is still president, are in the Situation Room on a video conference coordinating this together. It's the responsibility of the Bush chief of staff, but he's drawn his opposite number in.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you corrected the record there, because when I heard Mrs. Obama say that, it just didn't add up for me.
Yeah. Either a slander or she's calling her husband a liar. I don't know which one it was.
No. I just think she's misguided. I wouldn't assign any other motive to it. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. President Obama grants clemency to a whole bunch of drug dealers as he continues his policy that selling hard narcotics not really a heinous offense. And Gutfeld McGurk on MTV playing the race card.
We all love Beyonce. And yeah, she's black, so of course she cares about black issues. I'm talking to you, Fox News.
We hope you stay tuned for those reports. Unresolved problem segment tonight, the Trump inauguration. There are reports that the tenor Andrea Bocelli, too afraid of reprisals to perform at the inauguration. Now, those reports have been shot down by the Trump Inauguration Committee. We talked with them. But the tenor will not be performing, and he is a friend of Donald Trump's. So it's apparent that some very powerful entertainment people in America do not want the Trump inauguration to be a star-studded event. Many performers are scared that they may lose work if they show up. Right now, there's no big-name talent booked for the inauguration, although the Trump people say that could change fast. Joining us from Dallas, Tommy Lahren, hosts a daily program on Blaze TV. So Kanye West appears with Trump, right? And then West gets hammered on social media like crazy, right?
You know, it's amazing that the unloving and intolerant left, the tolerance is really one-sided, Bill, because they seem to be pretty accepting when their narrative is pushed, but as soon as Kanye ventures over to the other side, then that's somehow unacceptable, and he doesn't hear the end of it. And now he's got, a psychotic breakdown because he's a Trump supporter.
I think that it was, the breakdown was before, though, he met with Trump, was it not? It's hard to keep track of these breakdowns, but...
Of course. Well, Kanye's had a breakdown since 2009 when he interrupted Taylor Swift at the VMAs, so let's be clear. But now the fact that he goes to Trump Tower and wants to reach out to our president-elect, that should be a moment the social justice warriors relish in, because that's unity. That's what they would want, but of course not, because it's President Trump.
I don't follow the social media stuff. I don't go into the sewer. Did West really get hammered on Facebook and all these other things?
Oh, my goodness, like crazy.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to meet with Donald Trump. He's not allowed to get his photo taken with Donald Trump. Time and time again, we see this. And not just meeting with Donald Trump, mind you, Bill. It's meeting with anyone that's on the right side, meeting with anyone that's got a conservative worldview. They don't like that. They don't want theirs to be mixing with ours. It's amazing.
Do you think, and this is speculation, and I usually don't do that, but there's no other way to handle this story, because the Bocelli situation... It's foggy. I mean, we don't know if Bocelli isn't performing because he's afraid that he'll lose work or not. We just don't know. Bocelli says that's not true. The inauguration committee says not true. Published reports say it is true, and how do we know? But do you believe that there's pressure from the entertainment people in Hollywood and even Nashville. If you go and you perform at the inauguration, you might lose some work.
Well, Bill, there are still many Americans out there that fail to understand that Donald Trump will be our 45th president, that he will be inaugurated on January 20th. They haven't even accepted that yet. If they can't accept that, of course they're not going to accept entertainers going to perform at inauguration. This should be an exciting moment for America.
If there are veiled threats against performers, that they would lose their livelihood if they went to a presidential inauguration, that's a felony. That's big time. I mean, bitterness over a vote, okay. We understand. But threats swirling around, that's really un-American and unacceptable.
Well, of course it is, but I think it's kind of the side eye, the same thing that we saw in the election. Oh, you're a Trump supporter, you must be a racist, you must be a bigot, you must be in the basket of deplorables. We saw that, we're still seeing it. I'm still wondering when they're going to accept the fact that he's going to be our president. Then maybe we can move on and actually unite.
But they're never going to do that.
Never. Of course they're not, but, you know, they're forgetting that the millions of Americans that voted for Donald Trump in the middle of America that they conveniently ignore, we do have a voice, and we made that known, and we're continuing to make that known.
But they don't care about those people. You know.
They're going to have to, Bill, if they want to win an election.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. They're just hoping that Trump self-destructs. That's the hope on the left. Tommy, thanks very much. As always, we appreciate it. We come right back. Is it legal on President Obama pardoning more drug criminals? Legal. It's next.
The #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Is It Legal segment tonight. President Obama pardoned 78 people yesterday, commuted the sentences of 153 others. Mr. Obama has granted more commutations than any other president in U.S. history by far. Counting yesterday, close to 1,200 individuals have had their sentences reduced. The reason is that the president believes black criminals are punished more harshly than white criminals, especially on drug convictions. By comparison, George W. Bush granted 11 commutations, 1,200 to 11. There's now our Is It Legal duo, Kimberly Guilfoyle and Lisa Will. All right, so we've been investigating the people who have gotten their sentences reduced, and we selected 3 of them to talk about them. Anthony Dwayne Gillis, this is a Virginian. What did he do?
Right, Gillis, along with 2 brothers and a friend of his, they were in a ring when they trafficked cocaine and firearms. They basically had an exchange where they sold firearms for cocaine back and forth. So you've got cocaine, I've got firearms, I'll take the one, I'll take another. They did this with sawed-off shotguns, with everything like that, obviously illegal. And they kept this going for quite a long time.
6 years.
Until they got busted, exactly that. And he got 145 years, which was then commuted down to 20 years.
Yep. All right, so he's going to be out in when? Soon, right?
He's going to be out in 2022.
All right.
October 7th, 2022.
Right.
So it was life, and then President Obama busted it down at 20 years.
145, I mean,
well, that's
it's pretty much life,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Second man is Calvin Levon Clark. He's a North Carolinian. What did he do?
Yes, African-American male, 37 years of age. His offense is possession with intent to distribute more than 50 grams of cocaine base, which is crack cocaine, the deadliest, and an additional quantity of cocaine. Possession of a firearm. Both of these share that in common. So weapons were involved, which makes it a violent offense. Furtherance of a drug trafficking crime in the Eastern District of North Carolina. Original sentence, 354 months of imprisonment, which comes down to about 29.5 years, and then a period of supervised release after that for 5 years. So the commutation grant was commuted to expire now on December 19th, 2018, conditioned upon enrollment in a residential drug treatment program. But
but how many, if he gets out in 18, how many would he serve? 10. So he do 10, he was supposed to do 28.
Yes, and go into a drug program, but he's a drug dealer, not a drug user.
And he had guns.
Yes.
All right, so, you know, that belies the fact of the nonviolent drug offenses, which...
That's the problem here.
Which the president is trying to push all day long.
That's the problem.
And he pled guilty to this. He admitted his guilt. He pled guilty.
And the evidence is overwhelming.
Yes.
All right, third guy is Amilcar Butler. He's a Tennessean, 42. What did he do?
Well, he sold drugs as well, and one of the problems with him is the government learned about his drug involvement. He actually pled to 5 or more kilos of cocaine. They learned about him while they were investigating Nashville's kingpin of importing drugs from New Mexico and Texas in Nashville.
Yeah, Kenneth
so
Kimball.
Right,
All right,
they
so
learned about this guy.
They got the kingpin, and the kingpin gave him up.
Exactly.
And what did he get?
He got life imprisonment,
Life?
and now that got commuted down to 20 years. The problem I have with all of these guys is that the administration set up a 6-point criteria, category, and of those 6 points, qualifying, so they'd have to go through and see if you could qualify for this commutation, this clemency. If you did not have a criminal history, the one that Kimberly was talking about had a career criminal history, so that kind of...
The second guy was convicted on a career criminal provision.
And the second point in this is, second category, that you are a non-violent, low-level offender.
And none of these
They're not non-violent, they're not low-level.
Correct. None of these people meet those criteria.
It's our job to expose what's going on. Now, real quick,
overreach.
We have the tape of the police officer in South Carolina shooting the black suspect who's running away, because this was a hung jury, Guilfoyle.
Yes, it was.
And I'm not figuring out why it was a hung jury.
I'll tell you why. Because we weren't present in the courtroom. The defendant did take the stand, which is the officer that you're seeing right there, and said that he was afraid for his life. And there was there was an altercation that we did not see on this tape. And in fact, the victim, the deceased individual, picked up the taser, attempt to use it on the police officer.
Was that proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, listen, that was the evidence put in front of this jury, and you had one person...
By the prosecution?
Yes.
No, by the defense.
Well, all of the evidence, the facts were put forward, part by the prosecution, some by the defense.
See, that officer, to us civilians, just watching this on television, he's clearly shooting the man in the back. He's fleeing and he's unarmed. And now the jury can't convict this officer, Slager, of anything.
Well, he's going to be retried, and the state and federal court is going to come up first.
Was it just one holdout?
No, it looks like that's what we thought at first.
One said for sure not guilty, 5 undecided. African-American foreman who said he was going to vote guilty for manslaughter. The other choice was a first-degree intentional.
So there was something that happened before.
Here's something, though, I don't know how this jury got around it, though.
You can't try it on television.
There's a piece of video that you see where you see this kind of grainy video where the officer is putting down an object which looks like the taser on the man's body. That's the taser. He's putting it beside the body.
I can't try it on TV. I was surprised by the mistrial. Ladies, thanks very much.
All right, thank you.
Gutfeld McGurk on deck. MTV book segment tonight. What the heck just happened? MTV News has a Twitter account, and this week it features millennials lecturing white guys on how they can improve themselves in the new year.
Hey, fellow white guys. It's about to be a new year, and there's a few things we think you could do a little bit better in 2017.
First off, try to recognize that America was never great for anyone who wasn't a white guy.
Also, Blue Lives Matter isn't a thing.
Cops weren't born with blue skin, right? I mean, yeah, they weren't born blue. We all love Beyonce, and yeah, she's black, so of course she cares about black issues. I'm talking to you, Fox News.
I'm not sure what that means, but here now to explain further, Bernard McGurk and Greg Gutfeld. Number one, I didn't even know MTV had a news department. Number two, the news department goes on Twitter. That was all on Twitter, right?
I believe so.
All right.
I love this. I'm convinced that Donald Trump actually created this to help lay the groundwork for 2020, because anybody who sees this will just vote for Donald Trump. I mean, they just created a new identity that transcends race and gender. It's called losers. But I will say this. Good for MTV to hire homely people, because homely people need work too.
Now, if we had... or if MTV or anybody had said, we have New Year's resolutions for black people.
Oh, sure.
Muslims.
We would never do that. But if we did,
yeah, I know.
I mean, if you started talking about the crime or whatever, we would never do that. But yes, it would be horrendous.
But if you did it, you would be blackballed out of the industry, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
And this brings me back to the talking points memo, which I'm sure you guys were glued on.
No doubt about it. One of the best. As always.
When I said the heart of liberalism now in America, the heart of it is race. Everything's about race.
Right.
And how the white privileged people are the devil.
Yep.
And here we go. This is another example of that.
These spoiled, smug, ignorant punks, dweeb-splaining their shaming of white people, essentially, is what they're doing. And by the way, just using these white know-it-alls with the muscle tone of the Geico lizard doesn't make it any less racist, by the way. And like Greg said, they're stuck on stupid. This thinly veiled cop hatred, white hatred, America hatred is all what contributed to Trump's victory here in 2016.
Yeah.
I have a couple of resolutions for these mutts. Listen, I would say this. Stop sucking on your thumb, take the chip off your shoulder, and learn a trade, because at the degree you learn in Afro, Euro, gender studies, or whatever the hell it is going to make you one hell of a not
I
so
don't know
well
if there's a
educated
future at
Uber
MTV
driver.
News, by the way.
They're the leg warmers of 2016. The things you look back on 20 years, social justice warriors, are the things you're going to look at and go, that was really stupid what they did.
Okay, Waters goes down to Boca Raton, Florida, where there is a creche and a menorah in the public square. And then some dweeb, to use your, puts a pentagram and up with the devil in there. Okay? Right. Roll the tape.
We're in the public sphere here, and you have the nativity scene.
Along with baby Jesus.
Along with baby Jesus. And literally 20 yards to the left, you have this satanic symbol right here. How does this make you feel?
It's very disappointing. It's too bad. I mean, I believe in everyone having expression and respecting each other's religions, but this is not respecting anyone's religion.
So last night, vandals came in and with a truck and destroyed the pentagram.
And Waters is denying all responsibility.
It wasn't Waters.
But I'll tell you what, this was truly shocking to me. Shocking, actually. I had no idea that there were Christians in Boca. I had absolutely no clue. Hey, listen, kudos to Jesse Waters for sticking up for the baby Jesus, for the flag. I do hope he kind of used it as a urinal before he left this thing. I'm sure he didn't.
Well, I didn't like that vandalism thing. I think that hurts the cause of the good guys.
It could be a hoax to make the people look bad that are complaining about it.
It could be a false flag operation. The Satanists might have done it to themselves. The odds are that's not what happened. So when you're taking the law into your own hands and you're destroying that, you really hurt your cause. Do you know?
Yeah, I think so. And what do you got against Satan? Are you Satanist-ist?
What do I have against Satan?
No, just in general.
Many, many things.
I know. Yeah.
See, he tries to coax you into hell. See, that's not really a good, well, maybe for you it is, but for most of us, Gutfeld, that's the wrong path.
I don't believe in red people.
Hey, Bill,
little evil red people.
This guy who put it there was a teacher. Which
a middle school teacher.
Explains the nitwits we saw in the last video. I mean, that's the kind of people we're turning out. Because this
and the guy runs away. Look at him. He runs away.
Real.
And look, you pinhead, if you're going to do that, stand up and defend what you do. Don't run away. I know.
Maybe you had to go to the bathroom, Bill.
No, Waters is fierce. They're all afraid of Waters.
Yeah.
And so he ran away, and he's a coward. All right, Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. Same to you.
Gutfeld, try to stay away from the devil.
It's hard.
Happy Hanukkah, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in the happy
Kwanzaa.
Factor tip of the day, some Christmas information for you. Tip, moments away. In a moment. But first, quick update on gift giving. Best gift ever. Tickets to the live Spin Stops Here shows. Only 3 venues still have seats. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Omaha, Nebraska, Tacoma, Washington at the Dome. Details on BillO'Reilly.com. I'll link you right over to the box offices. Waters, Miller, and me. Going to shake it up. You don't want to miss this. Killing a Rising Sun. Looks to be the biggest selling book of the year, adult book of the year, I should say, by far. So if you haven't read it, you might want to find out why it is selling more copies than any other book. Also, we have the BillO'Reilly.com Christmas store. Tons of fun stuff available there. But you have to get your orders in now so we can get you the hats, pens, mugs, shirts, jackets, mats to you by Saturday, Christmas Eve. All right? All the proceeds I get from BillO'Reilly.com donated to charity. Now the mail. Josh Oliver, New York City, Congressman Sherman should ask himself if things are so great under President Obama, why did 62 million Americans vote Republican? Reinhard Holzinger, Managua, Nicaragua. O'Reilly, you will not report on the Electoral College controversy, but will send Waters to report on the phony Christmas war. Electoral College story was phony, as the facts proved yesterday, Reinhard. Christmas war, now limited, thanks to us, but it's still around. And by the way, you got to stop sipping the Kool-Aid down there in Managua. Reverend David Berman, Richmond, New Hampshire. Please tell me how the Russians hacked the election in favor of Trump when Hillary won the popular vote. Nonsense. Jamie Neal, McCordsville, Indiana. Mr. O'Reilly, Bernie Goldberg won't tell you where you are wrong because you don't let people finish a sentence and bully them. Boring, Jamie? Boring. We've been doing the same thing for 20 years. Bernie gets to say every week. Phil Shumway, Phoenix, Arizona. Bill, I agree with you that President Obama could have disabled Syria's Air Force after the poison gas incident. I would have put the skids on Assad's killing machine. James Horan, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Bill, you are still carrying water for Obama. Is pot legal in New Jersey? Did I miss it? Pat Williford, Bend, Oregon. Bill, thanks to you and Donald Trump for raising money for Fisher House. They made it possible for us to stay at our paraplegic son's bedside as he fought cancer. You know, I was happy to put the fundraiser together, Pat. Best to your family. Ken Hill, Baytown, Texas. Some folks might not know that as an Amazon Prime user, you can designate a charity and Amazon.com will donate to it. I've chosen the Fisher House. Well, good for you, Ken. And thank you for that tip. We know hundreds of Factor viewers, perhaps thousands, are donating to the Fisher House, which helps the families of severely wounded vets stay close. And once again, President-elect Trump signed all those hats, and we raised $600,000, and that was a really great thing. John Horsch, Palm Bay, Florida. We are happy. New BillO'Reilly.com premium members and purchase a personalized edition of Give Please a Chance for our granddaughter. Well, excellent, guys. Remember, you get a free book if you sign up or re-up for premium membership. Give Please a Chance. Finally, tonight, Factor Tip of the Day. This is my last day on the Factor this year. We'll all return January 3rd, Tuesday, after the Christmas break. It's been a very interesting year here on The Factor. Our ratings, unbelievable ratings, thanks to you. I believe we covered the presidential campaign a very fair way, but it was very hard work. Now we all need a break. Also, Christmas is a good time to evaluate your life, try to make it better going forward, change some things that aren't working, do things better, all right, and think about stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. If you see me walking in the woods on a snowy evening, that's what I'll be doing. I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, also very Happy Hanukkah for our Jewish viewers. Again, we really appreciate all of you supporting The Factor. Tip of the day. That's it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Please spout off about The Factor, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. We're the day to not be unctuous when writing to us. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Please remember that spin stops here.